Welcome to the Average Nobody's Podcast, the ultimate home for wrestling enthusiasts, beer drinkers, movie quoters, and pop culture connoisseurs. Here are your hosts, Matt and Ryan.
Welcome to the Average Nobody's Podcast, number 63 for January 25th, 2018. On today's show, we're chatting about the 2018 Oscar nominations, this Sunday's Royal Rumble, Larry Nassar, and the shocking return of the XFL. You can chat with us on Twitter at Average Nobodies. Toss us a like on Facebook. Again, it's at Average Nobodies. And heart all of our pictures on Instagram. Again, that's at Average Nobodies. Average Nobodies everywhere, across the board. Don't forget, this podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and YouTube. My name is Matt, and here with me as always is...
Ryan.
A.K.A. Babyface Ryan.
Babyface Ryan. That's what they call me. They've called me that since I was a baby.
For years, decades.
Decades even. Almost 3 decades.
Yes.
And I'm figuring with the advances in modern science, I'll live to 250, 260. So hopefully that stays that way.
You'll forever be known as Babyface Ryan. I know I've always had you in my phone as Babyface Ryan.
And Please love me, because a lot of people don't play along with it.
And I've never ever changed it right on the spot just so I could send a screenshot to Holly to prove that I call you Babyface Ryan. I've never done that.
I mean, who would do such a thing?
That's crazy. That's sociopath status.
It is. I agree.
So we got a packed show as I said at the top. We got a packed show today. There's no TV club today. We're still trying to figure out that. I know we talked about we wanted to watch The Punisher, and I think that's still the plan. But we're just a little bit a week behind. But honestly, there's so much current event stuff happening today. I think we'll be good.
Absolutely.
For a full show here. So let's get this out of the way. What we're watching this week, Ryan. What have you been watching?
Well, actually, I watched a little bit of The Punisher.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because we had talked about it last week, and then throughout the weekend and the early part of this week, we were texting, and neither of us had watched it. So there's no rush. I mean, whatever we do for TV Club is just kind of filling space until Walking Dead comes back.
Right.
So it wasn't a big deal. But then last night, my dog Bumble's actually been sick. He hasn't felt that good.
Oh, poor boy.
So we've been just like coming home from work and showering him with kisses and hugs, and he's on the mend now. I think he might have had Lyme disease.
Oh man.
So he was just really out of it. I mean, it just kicks your ass.
Yeah.
But we've been doing nothing after work but just like hanging on the couch with him, making sure he's comfortable and okay. And we were like, let's throw in The Punisher, because we've been wanting to watch it. We watched the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, so we watched the first 3 episodes. And it's very good. I mean, I'm not going to get into it too much because I know we want to eventually do it on TV Club, but it's very good. You've seen the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, right?
Yes. All
right, cool. So, I mean, you already have a background of who he is, why he is how he is. I will say it's a surprise timeline wise. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
I was expecting something else, like the time frame of the show, and it was something different, not in a bad way. But I don't know. I'm interested to see if we'll be on the same page when we eventually both watch it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then really just been on a huge TV. A lot of my shows are coming back. High Maintenance on HBO, it's a fantastic show. It centers around this weed dealer living in New York City, and each episode is like on a different person. So there's really no recurring characters. So there's the weed dealer. He's kind of like the center of it, and he delivers weed via his bicycle. He just rides around. It's just very unique. It's really funny, very dry humor. The main character is also the creator. Him and his wife created the show. This episode, there was an elongated threesome scene with 2 brothers.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of penis in the episode. Was not expecting it. But
HBO's calling card.
Oh, absolutely. Penis and boobs. That's it. But it's really good. If you have HBO, I would highly recommend it. It's 30-minute episodes. This is the first episode of the 2nd season, so I think there's been like 8 or 9 episodes total. But very, very good. And then after that show is the show called Divorce with Thomas Hayden Church and Sarah Jessica Parker. and that's a really good show. And it's basically second season just started, but it's about this couple that gets divorced. Basically, the Sarah Jessica Parker is cheating on her husband. Her husband's kind of he's not like a slime ball, but he's not trying his hardest. But it's funny, like it's not a serious show, and it just shows how like they try to coexist. They have 2 kids, and it's on HBO as well, so it feels more realistic. You know what I mean? Like they're swearing at each other, they're mad. It's not like a PG version. Like it feels like a real marriage.
Yeah.
I really, really like that show. It's called Divorce. And then Holly and I started a new show on Monday. It was actually a 2-night premiere. It was Sunday and Monday. It's called The Resident.
Yes. So I've been seeing the previews for this. What do you think?
Excellent.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Look, I know you're going to talk about like a doctor procedural drama in what we're watching, and I like Grey's Anatomy. You cannot go wrong just focusing on half the show is on these crazy medical things that are happening, and half the show is this how the doctors and nurses interact with each other. It's so good. It's such a good premise for a show. There's just because you never run out of storylines.
There are so many of those shows out right now, and there's so many of them that are good. I don't know what it is and why people are so fascinated with doctor shows like this. That's putting it very, painting with a broad brush. But The Resident I've heard is good, what you're talking about. Lindy and I watched The Good Doctor, which is
that good?
Also excellent. Yep. It's a little bit of a twist on the classic, doctor, show. It's the lead character has autism and he's a surgeon.
Oh.
So that just ups the ante there.
Yeah,
and there's so many. I mean, there's Chicago Med. One of my favorite shows of all time is Scrubs. It's like across time they have all these like great doctor shows that they really do dominate TV.
Yeah, like Grey's Anatomy's been on for what? I think this is its 15th season. Like it was on when I was in college, starting college.
Yeah,
and it's still good. Like it's still, and you're not going to get 15, 16 consistently quality seasons, but the bad seasons aren't that bad, but the good seasons are really good. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's called The Resident. I really liked it. A lot of different intertwining storylines. And they played a montage of the scenes to come.
Yep.
And the song that they played over it was Stay With Me by Sam Smith.
Ooh.
It's like they knew I was watching.
Done. That's
done. I'm in.
Done. They're gonna put Fast Car as the credits song, and then it's gonna be your favorite show of all time.
Burn my house down.
It's a strong reaction.
It is a really illogical one.
So I'll roll The Resident right into my first one, the one I'm watching. Lindy and I discovered that ER is on Hulu right now, and it's a show that I've never watched. It's a show my parents were big into. My mom loved ER.
My mom too.
And so we started watching it, and it's really great. It's this doctor. What did you call it? A procedural show? Is that what it's called?
Drama.
What?
A procedural drama.
Procedural drama. It's awesome.
I saw that at some point. I read it somewhere. I'm like, I'm going to use that.
It's this is the perfect time to use it. It's fantastic. It stars Goose from Top Gun. As one of the main characters. Yes, and also obviously George Clooney. This is where George Clooney.
Pete Clooney.
Yeah, he is the Clooney. He is just a young pup on this show, man. I'll tell you. And honestly, a bunch of other characters that when you look at them, you recognize them from other roles. William H. Macy is in it, and a bunch of others that I don't know their names, but like I said, you'd recognize them. It's really a great show, and it's one of those shows that you can just kind of put on. And you might not need to pay attention the entire time, but it's still enjoyable. Like we were saying off microphone, you're looking for a show to kind of fall asleep to. This is the show. Not that I'm saying you should fall asleep to this show because it's really good, but it's just one of those things. There's so many episodes that you'll be able to watch it for a long time and still get new material. It's kind of like The Office.
Oh God.
Yeah. So.
I could honestly just watch The Office with my eyes closed and know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's gotten silly at this point for that show to have that many episodes, and really both of us know we know what's coming. If you start an episode, we know the whole rhythm of the whole episode and where it's going. We know the whole thing. I went out to the movies last weekend with my housemate GMac. It was his little birthday weekend, so he wanted to go see a movie. So we went to go see 12 Strong. We didn't talk about this last week, right? Because
No.
So we saw it the morning of the championship games, the NFL championship games. It was good. I'm not gonna say it's very good. Among the pantheon of like all those like war movies, like American war movies, you got like American Sniper and Zero Dark 30 and 13 Hours and Lone Survivor and like all those type of movies. Jarhead, Jarhead, yeah, exactly. Jarhead to some point. The Hurt Locker, all those. It falls somewhere in the middle, I'd say. Maybe not as good as the Hurt Locker, but I don't know, somewhere in the middle, right? It's weird seeing Chris Hemsworth without Thor's accent and without an Australian accent because I feel like he never plays an American.
No,
because like
he really doesn't.
He's Thor, right? And then otherwise, a lot of times they'll just give him an Australian accent. Like in the Vacation movie when he was like he played Leslie Mann's husband, he had a bit of a twang, right? Some kind of accent. I don't think it was a full American accent.
Like Texan,
right? Yeah, it was like a little off. This was just a straight like American like English accent, and it was weird. It was weird seeing him like that. Michael Pena's in it. He's great. I love Michael Pena, and also Michael Shannon, who he's never been given a role that he hasn't crushed. He's just like I don't understand it. He's like, all right, I got to be this person. He plays it. He plays that person. And it's great. Yeah. It's not like over the top where it's like Daniel Day-Lewis, but it's just like he's just so good in every role he's in.
Really
so I'm a big fan.
I love him. That's an awesome cast.
Yeah, and then there was a few. Rob Riggle was in it, and a fun fact about his casting is that I didn't know this, but Rob Riggle was a longtime Marine.
I did know that.
So, and he in the movie he plays his commanding officer from when he was in the Marines. Isn't that interesting?
So interesting,
right? So imagine being casted in this movie, like, say Ryan, after your time at Colette, you become an actor, which is not out of the realm. I've always said you could be an actor.
That means a lot.
You become an actor, and then someone's making a movie about Colette travel, and you play your boss. That's what that was like. Right, so
that's
you know your boss, you know his or her mannerisms, like what they're like in certain situations. So that's kind of cool, right? So I thought we were getting a pretty a behind the scenes look at what it was really like for that person.
Very authentic performance.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And then so another surprise character, I couldn't put my finger on where I remember him from, but if you remember the movie The Breakup, the one with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
he is the date that Jennifer Aniston goes on after Vince Vaughn when Vince Vaughn sits down and plays video games with him. It's that guy, and he's from a lot of other things too. But that's the first thing that pops into my head. You know who I'm talking about. He plays a pretty major role, and he was actually very good. Like he was a memorable. Like there's 12 of these guys that I'm jumping the gun. I mean, I really jumped the shark here, but. The movie is about the 12 soldiers that were the first people boots on the ground in Afghanistan after the 2001 attacks in New York and the Pentagon after 9/11. And there's 12 kind of main characters. I'm doing air quotes, but you really only like remember Pena, Chris Hemsworth, Michael Shannon, the guy who I'm talking about from The Breakup, and then like maybe a few other guys. But like for the most part, they all kind of like fall into like the shadows. They don't really they're not really stand out. But I thought he was pretty good. Nice. I also went back and finished Comedian in Cars Getting Coffee because I didn't realize I totally missed 2 seasons of it, which is wild. I don't know how I did that. And then I also finished The People versus O.J. Simpson. What a show.
How great was that show?
It was amazing. The acting in it is like, it's a master class in acting, honestly. It was insane. John Travolta, aka I call him Jonathan. We're good friends. John Travolta was fantastic, so good as Rob Shapiro. I even kind of like David Schwimmer as Rob Kardashian. I thought he was. Yeah.
He wasn't too over the top. He wasn't like that's kind. I was afraid he was just gonna like satirize him.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I thought he was good. The girl, fuck, what is her name? God damn it! Whoever plays Marsha Clark, the woman who plays Marsha Clark.
Oh, Sarah Paulson.
Yes, amazing. And then of course Sterling K. Brown killed it.
He's so good.
I mean, I feel like I'm just naming everybody, but really it was that good. Like the acting was that good in it. Nathan Lane, I'm a huge Nathan Lane fan. He was fantastic. Yep. The guy who plays Johnny Cochran was amazing. Even the judge, which I know him from a few things, but I did like his performance in it as well. It was
also,
an amazing show.
Looks just like the real judge.
That was the closest 1-to-1 comparison they did at the end. It was easily the closest. That was wild. He looked just like him, but it was amazing, and it's still like unbelievable to this day that he got off with that. He got off on a double murder.
It's crazy.
It's
honestly,
wild.
you should. It's long. It's like a 7-hour documentary. It's broken up into 5 parts.
Yeah.
But OJ Made in America. It's an ESPN documentary.
That's what I'm going after next.
Oh my God! Well, because it shows you it shows OJ growing up. You know, because he went to school at USC, so like he was in California, and like he was in college during like the Vietnam War, and when all these students were protesting, and when civil rights, like Martin Luther King, everyone was marching for equal rights, and he wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
nothing to do with it. He's like, I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm OJ. I'm gonna worry about myself. Like I don't really care about the advancement of other people, other black people. And then all of a sudden, when he needs, and I don't know if it was him or if it was Johnny Cochran or it was a mix, but when they needed to play the race card, they played the race card, and there was no better place to do it in than L.A.
Yeah,
because just a couple of years earlier, you had the Rodney King riots.
Yeah,
when the white officers got off, and it's like, are we gonna, I mean, people were ecstatic that he got off. Yeah. He murdered people. He's a murderer.
He absolutely is. Like, there's no two ways about it. It's insane.
No.
I mean, Mark Furman is a real bad guy. Like the cop who they were trying to say that he framed him. Real bad guy. But come on. Like, come on. It's insanity. And also it was and I want to see the actual documentary too, like the one you're talking about, OJ Made in America. Because I want to see like a lot of the inner workings of like the judicial system during this case, because it was really an eye-opening experience for me, because I don't think I've ever really like seen like a full big case like that, like portrayed in like a show or a movie, like to see it like that. You know what I mean? Like the closest thing I think recently that I've seen is the Making a Murderer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the judicial system is an interesting and weird fucking thing.
It's so weird.
It's so weird, right? It's like they'll be in court for like, they'll be prepared and ready to go. They'll be in court for 2 minutes and then they'll dismiss it to the next day. Like it's such a weird thing. It's so strange. It's like nothing else in this world. I don't know.
In the OJ documentary, they have like a bunch of interviews with the real Mark Furman.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus. That guy is he's super racist Nazi.
Yes. Yeah. It's just interesting seeing him, like, he doesn't defend himself. He's like, I went through a dark period. I'm like, well, is that what we're calling it?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, very good. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it as much as I did, because that was just a fantastic show.
Yeah. See, speaking of liking things, let's talk about the Oscar nominations for a minute. They're out. The Oscar nominations are out. I have the full list in front of me in case we need to reference anything.
Okay.
But do you want to take off with this one?
Yeah. So there were a couple really cool tidbits that I saw. This first one's not necessarily cool, but it's very interesting. So I made sure to jot it down. We have the first ever female cinematographer. Mm-hmm. First ever nomination. She's just nominated, which was Rachel Morrison from Mudbound. Mm-hmm. And I found a very disturbing stat. So out of the top 250 grossing films of 2017, 4% of those films had female cinematographers.
4%.
4%.
That's God.
That's a problem. Like, that's not like, oh, like, we're just like, it's just by chance we're not hiring women. It's like, no, 96 to 4. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm glad this she got nominated. It's just, I feel like 2018 shouldn't be the first year of and nominated. Like, it's not one. It's like just giving.
And honestly, your next stat that I'm looking at, we'll get into a second, is probably in that category as well. I can't believe it's 2018 and that this is a thing. Talking about Rachel Morrison and Mudbound, on the Make Movies Great Again podcast 2 weeks ago, Sean, Adam, and I, we ranked our top 10 favorite movies from 2017. And while we had a lot of like this discrepancies, like we all had a lot of different movies on there, all three of us put Mudbound in our top 10, which it's a Netflix movie. It flew way under the radar. It's an amazing movie, and a lot of the reason why it's an amazing movie is because of the cinematography. So my hat is off to Rachel Morrison. The category's tough because you have Blade Runner 2049, and Roger Deakins is a genius. And I love that movie. It was my number one movie from 2017. And also you have Dunkirk, which is just a visual masterpiece. But Mudbound really deserves recognition. I believe there's a couple other nominations. I believe that Mary J. Blige is nominated for supporting actress in Mudbound, and that is a well-deserved role on Oscar as well, for sure.
Yeah, I meant to see it one Saturday. I was working from home, and work got so busy I couldn't watch it. So it's on my list.
I highly suggest it. It's really it's a great movie, and it's very moving. It's very emotional. And it's one of those movies that really paints a vivid picture of the time that the movie takes place. You're really there, and you understand why things are happening because of the time. And a lot of the times it's unfortunate things that happen because of the time. But anyway, great movie, and that's totally deserved. And like I said, the category is tough, but I have a feeling she might be able to pull this one off. It really is a stunning movie.
Because who else is for cinematography?
You got Roger Deakins for Blade Runner 2049. You got Bruno Del Bono for Darkest Hour. Dunkirk, which is oh my God, with these names. Hoytema.
Is that a real name?
Hoytema. I don't know. Mudbound. Rachel Morrison, The Shape of Water. Dan Lauston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and like I said, Blade Runner 2049 is really great, but Dunkirk, I think, is the real competition for Rachel.
Just for like director, cinematography, like all that. I mean, it's just unreal.
Yeah, it's like one of those movies. It's like it was hyped up. It was shot in 70mm IMAX film, and it really plays to like that big screen. It was really incredible. So yeah. Good. That's a great nomination.
And then we got Jordan Peele for Get Out. He is the 5th Black director to be nominated, but he actually has 3 nominations on the night.
It's amazing.
Because Best Director for himself, Best Picture because he's a producer, and Best Original Screenplay.
Yep.
And he's actually the first Black nominee ever to have 3 nominations in the same Oscar.
That's incredible. That's incredible. It's incredible that I'm so glad that it's happening for Get Out because it really is an awesome movie. But it's just like this is crazy. It's the first time.
And I was a little worried that I loved the movie. It was fantastic, but it's clearly a horror movie. Like the themes are there, but they don't have that category in the Oscars. So do they classify it as a comedy, right? Comedy or musical?
Yeah.
Which they kind of had to, I guess.
For the Golden Globes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, too, because I really do think it deserves to be in Best Picture. It's that kind of caliber movie. There's such stiff competition this year for Best Picture. Lady Bird is getting so much love and affection. Like that movie, I need to see it. I've heard is amazing. You have Daniel Day-Lewis's Swan Song,
Yep.
which is like how do you go against that? You know what I mean? And then like and a lot of times he'll win for actor instead of like the winning best picture, but you never know. It's a Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and then of course Shape of Water. Shape of Water is getting a ton of love, and Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri is winning all the awards.
And Spielberg and Tom Hanks for The Post.
Right. Like, I love that. That is the funniest joke from the Golden Globes. When Seth Meyers is introing The Post, he's like, and it's directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, and the person comes out with all the awards. He's like, no, we gotta wait to see what happens. We gotta wait to see what happens. It's like, because it's true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's that's awesome. But it's gonna be tough for Get Out for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But you know what? Hey, they're nominated. Like, if they don't win, you really can't cry foul. Like, it's some very stiff competition. Yeah. So,
and I would handily give it to Get Out for original screenplay because I think the movie is so unique. But I love The Big Sick so much that it's so tough.
Yeah.
It's so because The Big Sick is also nominated for original screenplay.
Which was really so cool to see.
Yeah, I'm so happy for that movie too. Get Out. I mean, this year is like really a year for underdogs for the Oscars. It really is.
It is. Yeah.
So.
And then you got Denzel. You know, a couple old faithfuls in there. You got Denzel for Best Actor.
Yeah.
His 9th nomination, which that film didn't get much.
No, not at all. I didn't even know he was. Until I saw his nomination, I didn't even know he was in the movie last year. It's kind of wild. I
don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's got some tough. Timothy Chalamet. He's getting a lot of awards hype for Call Me by Your Name. Daniel Day-Lewis, obviously. How do you say his name? Kaluuya? Daniel Forget Out.
Kaluuya is what I've been hearing, but please don't go by what I say.
You are not the master.
I am not the master at pronouncing names. No.
But I mean, really cool nomination, well deserved. He a ton of great performances in Get Out, but he was clearly the focal point. I mean, how he can just express his emotions with his eyes. You know, that sunken place scene is still like shivers me.
Yeah.
Not the right saying, but
no, and, I know what you mean though.
Yeah. And then Gary Oldman, you know, dressing up as Winston Churchill. It's always good for a couple nominations. Playing a famous guy, but I like Gary Oldman a lot. I'm sure he was great.
Yeah.
So we still plan on watching as many as we can of these, right?
Yeah. I mean, I actually signed up for Movie Pass with the intention of going to see as many of the Oscar-nominated movies as possible because a lot of them are still in theaters, and a lot of the times the ones that are more indie that get nominated for Best Picture, they get put back into circulation. So now's a good time to go out and see movies, even though it's kind of like that lull. It's before the big blockbusters, but after like the holiday movies. So it's a good time to go see movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got till March 4th. So, and the cool thing is like a lot of these like that were nominated for Best Picture, they also have the actors nominated, and so it kind of bleed into each other.
Yep.
And then another old faithful who could not be more deserving, Hans Zimmer. Mm-hmm. His 11th nomination for the score in Dunkirk. And we talked about this. I think, did we review Dunkirk on our podcast? Because I remember we one of us read somewhere that the ticking was actually recorded from a pocket watch that Christopher Nolan.
It was Christopher Nolan's pocket watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that score is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Love Hans Zimmer. Interesting, he's only won one Oscar, and that was in 1995 for The Lion King.
That's crazy.
And he's been nominated. Now he'll have been nominated 11 times. Some of his other Oscar-nominated scores: Rain Man in 1989, The Preacher's Wife, As Good as It Gets, The Prince of Egypt, Gladiator, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk. So the last three have been all Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. There's a lot of director composers that kind of hitch their wagons to each other. And recently
it's because they get each other.
Yeah, it's been Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan. Because a score is so important to a movie. It's crucial. And then like you're saying, like he's an old faithful. It's like I feel like there's only really like a few composers. It's like John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman, and then like John Barry, the guy who did 007. It's like all these iconic scores and like they are all like the tops of it. And it's always good to see Hans Zimmer nominated because he's probably done something amazing. And Dunkirk is one of those, one of his amazing ones.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on any potential snubs or surprises?
I have a couple. Surprises. I'm so happy that Get Out got the 3 nominations, and the 3 nominations it deserves, no less. Best Picture, Best Director, and Original Screenplay. All 3 of those are what make Get Out so great. It's the unique idea. It's Jordan Peele's direction, and the movie as a whole took people by storm. Those 3 nominations, very astute by the Academy. Blade Runner 2049, I'm kind of disappointed it wasn't in the mix a little more for different awards. I really think Ryan Gosling was awesome, and even though like he's probably not at the caliber because of the role, because of like the way the role was, not of the caliber as like some of the lead actors in the category. I really think that you haven't seen it, right?
No. Do you think people take him kind of for granted that he's just going to put in a good performance and they almost brush over it like, yeah, he was good again? But
yeah, I mean, I think everybody was like, oh, Ryan Gosling, when they saw La La Land, they're like, this is a whole another Ryan Gosling. Like he's Hollywood's what am I trying to say? Like he's like the sweet darling, exactly the word I'm looking for. He's like the darling. Everybody loves Ryan Gosling, but I think that buried him a little bit. That like people are just expecting him to be great. Also, I think he's kind of on a hangover from La La Land, or like everybody's on a hangover from La La Land. But he in there, so everybody kind of like just like put him aside. Also, I think that Blade Runner 2049 being a sequel definitely hurt it. It didn't do that well in theaters, and I know that that's not a measuring stick for how a movie gets nominated or how many nominations it gets. But I think that the sequel kind of hurt it. I think that I don't know, but I really think he was great in that. He really like he got me pretty emotional in some scenes in that movie. There's like this great, and I don't want to give anything away because you haven't seen it. I really think you should watch it. There's some great scenes that he really like pulls emotion out of the audience. And I thought that he did a really great job. So I'm kind of bummed that he didn't get nominated. And then my number one snub is that Zac Efron should have been nominated Best Supporting Actor. It's bullshit.
And I'm so surprised because, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit, but like that movie came out at the perfect time.
Yeah.
For Oscar season. Yep. The perfect time.
It's the same time La La Land came out.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I mean, for you to rave this much about a movie,
Ryan,
I trust your instincts.
I've done nothing but listen to the soundtrack in the car on my way to and from work. To get an idea of how many times I've listened to it, I traveled to work 45 minutes in the 45 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes home. I can listen to it about 2 times each way. That's how like the length of it. So I'm listening to it a lot. He's so good as oh my God, Carlisle, Philip Carlisle in The Greatest Showman. It's incredible. His singing, his dancing, his acting, everything across the board should have been nominated for Best Supporting. It's crazy that he's not. It's one of the surprise performances of the year.
I think we should get him to come watch the ceremony with us.
I don't see why he wouldn't, right? What else does he have to do but hang out with 2 handsome guys?
Right. Have a couple of beers.
Have a couple of beers. Yeah, why not?
Watch in their underwear.
Yeah. I'm sure he would be fine with that.
I have to go, guys.
Yeah. And then the other one, and I guess I can't really like, I have 2 movies that I really want to be in Best Picture, but also Mudbound.
Yeah. For Best Picture.
It really was a great movie. It's like, so if we're talking about like movies from independent production houses now, or not independent, but like streaming services, you have oh God, what's the movie? Manchester by the Sea, right? Was done by Amazon?
Yes.
That was done by Amazon. This is like that caliber movie as far as like streaming services go. It's really great. And like I said before, I gushed about it earlier. It really paints a vivid picture of the time and place that it takes place. So those are my 3 that surprises / snubs.
Yeah, the only one I was surprised that didn't get anything was Wonder Woman. Like, not even I don't know. I mean, I think it suffers from a couple things. It's a superhero film, and the Oscars never really, favor them.
Yeah.
And also, it came out in June, and it had so much momentum over the summer. And it was a great movie. It's a fantastic movie, and it made a ton of money, and it was really good. But by the time end of January comes, there's just too many other things that I think popped in its place, and I think people, they forget about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that it wasn't presented, but it shouldn't have been that surprising, I guess, because it wasn't really nominated for anything. Like, no Golden Globes. The only Screen Actors Guild Award it got nominated for was like a stunt ensemble.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it just kind of stinks. Like, I thought Gal Gadot was really good. I don't know if she was, Oscar worthy, but at least to throw in a nomination here or there. But maybe it's best to just not nominate it instead of like giving it a random one, like costume design or something.
Right. I agree. Yeah, it was such a phenomenon at the time it came out, and I think it was really more like a statement for people like Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins, like this female lead and female director, and that was such like and for it to do as well as it did, like it's done that, like nothing like that has ever been done before. I think it really like it's more of a like a I don't know. It's more of a milestone than, like you said, like it just getting a random category. It means more than just being nominated for an Oscar, even though I think it sucks that it wasn't. Yeah, I just think that it's a great movie, and that doesn't take anything away from it,
Yeah, and another thing I was surprised at, and I don't really think this has anything to do with the performance in the movie, James Franco not even nominated.
Yeah, for the
he won the Golden Globe.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
But I don't think that has anything to do with his performance.
Was The Disaster Artist screenplay it was nominated for? That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Which I haven't seen the movie. I don't know how good it was, but it's just odd to have someone win the Best Actor award
and not even be nominated.
Not even get nominated. Yeah. And it obviously has to do with the accusations against them. The sexual assault or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
So he's not on there anymore. And speaking of sexual assault, Casey Affleck, who won Best Actor last year, will not be presenting the Best Actress award this year.
Is that what normally happens?
Yeah. So that's why it was so controversial last year, because Brie Larson had to give him the trophy, and she's like the biggest proponent of like sexual assault survivors and all this stuff, and she looked very, very upset,
right?
Like angry that she had to give this to him with all the allegations going around, because she had won Best Actress the year before. So this year he was supposed to present Best Actress since he won Best Actor last year, and he came out with a statement today saying he will not be at the ceremony.
Damn. Yep, probably the right move. Who do you think will give it?
They haven't picked anyone yet. I don't know. Maybe like a joint presenter. You can throw up Louis C.K. You can throw up get Weinstein out of the hole in the ground where he is. No, I don't know.
Right, but
I don't know.
Reintroduce him into society. Perfect.
Hey, Matt, I just figured it out.
What?
Kirk Douglas. Get him up there.
Oh no! Oh no! Why?
Yes.
Get him off the stage.
Come on.
Who's doing this? Who's still doing this? Oh,
hey,
God.
He's available.
Yeah. I have another one too. Maybe Gary Busey. Maybe Gary Busey rolls Kirk Douglas out on stage
with that smile.
Oh my God. Gary Busey is a gem. Oh my God.
Really, what a fantastically insane person.
I think we should write a letter and suggest those things.
Hey, I mean, Kirk Douglas, after his performance at the Golden Globes, just put him in a prominent position at the Oscars.
If Kirk Douglas actually gets called upon to give the award, if for some odd reason, well, Hollywood loves to do these things, I really will say a prayer for Kirk Douglas that he dies before the Oscars. I don't want to put him through that again.
No. He doesn't need to go through that again.
Under good conscience, I can't possibly get into any more entertainment out of Kirk Douglas. He's done enough.
He's done enough.
Let the man
his soul out of him.
Let the man just rest in peace. Just let him end his last final years. Just let him fade out.
Yeah.
Don't keep wheeling him on stage for these award ceremonies. He probably hates it.
He has to.
And for a man of his age, it probably has to be such a production to get him there.
And like put him in a tux, and like he wants to be sitting in sweatpants and
and probably a
hanging
diaper,
out, eating mashed peas.
Before we move on to the next topic, I want to talk a second about Timothée Chalamet, who's nominated for Call Me by Your Name. I don't really know anything about that movie other than the synopsis that I've read, and I haven't seen it. I do plan on watching it. I just know that last year when I went to South by Southwest, one of my favorite movies at the festival was this movie called Hot Summer Nights, starring him, and a few others that are it was for the most part a no-name, not no-name. It was not all people with no names, but it was, imagine the credits, just all no names. Just like relatively unknown actors and actresses. But it was a first-time director. I forget his name. I'm really mad at myself for forgetting his name, but it's a fantastic movie. It's like this amazing story about this kid who Timothée Chalamet plays, who moves to this beachside town. It kind of reminds me of like a Newport, Rhode Island, or like a Charleston, South Carolina, like one of those like oceanside towns for a summer. And he meets all these like new people and becomes friends with them and gets like stuck in some like dark twisted shit. It's a really good movie. And I don't know if it's out on Blu-ray or if I don't think it's on Netflix. I don't know if it's like one of those movies where it's going to come to theaters eventually if they're still shopping it around, but it should have gone to theaters, and I didn't hear anything about it. But so I know his caliber as an actor is very high, so I wouldn't be surprised if he won for his category.
I'm excited. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that movie, so I just can't wait to dive into all the Oscar nominees. It's going to be a fun 5 weeks, right? March 4th, so 5 or 6 weeks for us to just kind of brush up on our stuff and head into the Oscars.
Excellent.
And what we'll be doing this weekend, is Big Four WWE wrestling pay-per-views is this weekend. The Royal Rumble takes place from Crazy Town, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is apparently just a war zone now for football games. So some of those videos on Barstool of like them throwing full beers at Vikings fans for no reason, and what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Did you I don't know how do we get talking to Philadelphia right now? Philly?
That's where the Rumble is.
All right. So, did you listen to Barstool Breakfast at all this week?
I listen to it every day. It's so good.
Did you
when Speedy was on with Willie Colon?
Yeah. Did you hear about the story about Willie Colon's elderly mother who has lupus? Yeah. She was going to a Philly game with him for his first NFL game, and they were throwing batteries at her.
Yeah.
Because she had a terrible towel. They were throwing batteries at her.
And then, of course, Smitty, he's an
idiot. He's an idiot.
It's like, oh, is she wearing a sign like I have lupus? And I thought Willie Colon was going to kill him.
Yeah.
He's like, what? He's like, why don't you shut the fuck up? And and then they got like really serious.
That's such a poor response. Like, that's not the response to have. You shouldn't be throwing batteries at an old woman anyway. You shouldn't be throwing batteries at anyone. Yeah.
At anyone. And then that's what Willie Colon's. He's like, would it have made it better if they were throwing like marshmallows? Like it's my elderly mom. Yeah. Like, what are you throwing stuff at her for? For having a terrible towel?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's Crazy Town. So the crowd, the only good thing for wrestling events, the crowd should be pretty rabid.
Yes.
The crowd should be pretty rabid. We have 6 matches in total, 4 title matches, and then the men's rumble and the first ever women's rumble.
Yep.
Cool thing about the women's rumble, which I'm glad they didn't try to, do something silly like 20 entrants. You can throw them under the top, under the bottom rope. Like it needs to be the same.
Yeah.
So it's 30 women over the top rope, elimination only, and winner gets a title shot at WrestleMania. For the undercard, you have the SmackDown Tag Team Championship 2 out of 3 falls match. The Usos against Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. Also the Raw Tag Team Championship, Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan versus The Bar, which is Cesaro and Sheamus.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Styles is defending the WWE Championship in a handicap match against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And Brock Lesnar is defending the Universal title in a triple threat match against Braun Strowman and Kane.
Oh,
Why is Kane
I don't know.
in a match, in a world title match in 2018?
I don't know. Isn't he still running for mayor?
Yes. Yep. He's active.
Interesting runner. Interesting move.
I mean, the smart money is that you've already had Brock Lesnar pin Braun Strowman at No Mercy in October.
Yep.
So you can't have him just straight up pin him again. Like, Braun Strowman's too big of an attraction. He's the guy with the most steam behind him, but I don't think they want to take the belt off Lesnar yet. So you throw Kane into this match to eat the pin, which is fine, but not for the Royal Rumble like title match. I don't like. I think it would be awesome. It's definitely not going to happen. But if Braun beats Kane and then he fights Lesnar in a rematch at WrestleMania, that would be pretty cool. That's what I wrote a little bit about all these matches on AverageNobodies.com. I did a little Royal Rumble preview and predictions post. But what I wanted to focus on were the 2 Rumble matches. So, Matt, do you have any predictions for the men's and the women's Rumble?
I don't. Well, I think the women's Rumble is going to be super interesting because 30 entrants is going to mean that I think there's going to be a lot of surprises.
Yes, there are, because there's only 18 women 18 active wrestlers on the roster right now, like on the main roster, not including NXT.
Yeah. So
that means you have to have 12 between NXT and some of like the legends, the divas.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe is Nakamura a good pick for the Rumble?
He is. What I did for the men's Rumble, I leveled it down to 4. Nakamura, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, and Ziggler.
Okay. You think Ziggler's gonna?
Well, the storyline, Ziggler won the U.S. title.
Yeah.
At the last pay-per-view, and the next SmackDown, he came out and cut a promo, basically like retiring.
Yeah.
And just left the belt in the middle of the ring and has not been seen since. Has not been on SmackDown. Wasn't on the Raw on Monday.
That's interesting.
So, if they're going to bring him back at the Rumble, it should be for a reason. Like, you can't make him stay off TV for months, bring him back at the Rumble, and have him eliminated in 2 seconds.
Yeah. So
it would be kind of cool to bring him back and have him win. I mean, that gets some momentum behind him. At worst, they bring him back. He has a hell of a showing and he gets tossed out. Reigns is always, going to be in the top 2 or 3 to win if he's in the match. That's just who he is. He's like what Cena was, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And then as far as sorry, what were you going to say?
Nakamura is a good pick, though. I think it's going to be Balor, but Nakamura is a good pick.
I think I was kind of like weighing between Nakamura and Balor as well. I love Finn Balor. Nakamura is so good as well, and such a fan favorite as well. On top of that,
so easy to get behind. It's just like a lot of charisma, just a weird guy, but weird in a good way.
And as far as the women's Royal Rumble, I know that I've been reading everywhere that there's possibly a chance that Ronda Rousey gets involved.
There is. So she actually was interviewed by TMZ today at the airport.
Yeah.
And so, according to her, she's flying to Colombia to finish up filming a movie she's doing called Mile 22.
Okay.
And she'll be there till mid-February.
Yeah.
Whether that's the truth or not, you never know. That sounds a little too airtight, you know?
Yeah, I guess. But also, like, if she's going to be there, when she says she's going to be there until February what?
Mid-February, she said.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a good chance that maybe she goes a little bit later and still shows up. At any rate, if not the Ronda Rousey surprise, I think that Asuka maybe would win. I would hope.
I can't imagine they wouldn't have Asuka win. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, it's not worth it to go out of your way to like have her get eliminated by 10 people. You know what I mean? Just have her win.
Yeah.
She's the clear best one on the roster. It's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she had the best NXT career of anyone in the history of the promotion.
Yeah.
So to waste that and like not have her win the first Women's Rumble, It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rousey's going to be there. Like, I could see them pick Rousey just for the publicity of it, but I would rather them. You know what? If Rousey does want to stay, it does want to come to WWE. What you should do is sign her, hold off if she's going to be going to mid-February, and bring her into WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Bring her in as like a special guest who like hops the guardrail again, but this time she's staying and she can start a program with Asuka, with Alexa Bliss, anybody.
Yeah.
And that way you give Asuka the recognition of being the first ever Women's Rumble winner.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's important.
And you're not pissing off your fans who watch it every week.
Yeah.
Just like, not that I don't like Ronda Rousey, but I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? So I hope Asuka wins on the men's side. In the blog I wrote, my head is saying Roman Reigns, my heart is saying Finn Balor. If it's Roman Reigns, hey, my head's already come to terms with it. My heart will break, but I don't know. It's gonna be good.
I also think that I think we could see a big in the women's Rumble match. I think we could see like kind of like a Kane-esque performance out of Jax.
Yes,
I think she'll just like start eliminating people left and right, and just like start going ham on all like the the women's division, just knocking everybody over.
I think she's gonna be that. Yeah, she's gonna be that one who doesn't win, but you're gonna be talking about her performance the next day, which is exactly how it should be. And then some legends coming back. Hey, maybe a Trish Stratus.
Oh, she looked good on the 25th anniversary.
She looked great. She really did.
Yeah.
Kelly, I see coming back.
Yep.
I don't know. I would want AJ Lee to come back. I think that would be so cool. The only thing is, like, do they want the CM Punk chance? You know the crowd's going to do it.
Yeah.
It just kind of ruin it.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to just have her come. She's not going to wrestle full time again, but just to kind of pop to have her come back. And then some of the other women that came out on Monday, Michelle McCool, Tori Wilson. You can always have Jacqueline come back. I think that's what the crowd really wants to see, Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Another thing I saw online, just for like a one-off, would be Cody Rhodes coming back.
I think that would be cool.
Crowd would go nuts, and like he's not gonna wrestle for them full time.
Yeah. Ever
maybe. I mean, he might, but I think that would be pretty badass.
Yeah, I agree. That would be pretty cool.
And yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a good time. We'll be doing our own personal betting on the Rumble. Yes. We have 2 Rumbles bet on this year, so
fantastic.
And the cool thing about that is like once your guy comes out, if you got a shot or not.
Yeah.
Pretty much right away.
Yeah. Hopefully we have a better reaction out of the winner this year.
Yeah, not just
sitting there in the corner. Yeah, Derek. God damn it, Derek.
Son of a bitch. But yeah, so Rumble this Sunday, 7:00 on the WWE Network. Mm-hmm. You also have NXT TakeOver Philadelphia, which is the night before, also on the network. That'll be at 8:00. And make sure you just stay tuned to AverageNobodies.com because the TakeOver preview and predictions post will be dropping tomorrow a.m.
Ooh.
Preview and predictions post you can already find on the website.
Excellent. So yeah, check that out, AverageNobodies.com. Let's move into the next topic just briefly so we can hit the last one and wrap up because we're running a little long right now. We got a lot to talk about. So Larry Nassar.
Yes.
He was the USA Gymnastics team doctor. And then he was also the physician at MSU, Michigan State University. He's also a huge scumbag.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know who this guy is and you've seen the news recently, you know that he's molested countless women during his time as both at Michigan State University and as the USA Gymnastics team doctor. Huge scumbag. The verdict came down. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
The verdict came down. Judge Rosemary, how do you say her last name?
Aquilina.
She basically sentenced him. She sentenced him to like 160 something years in prison, and then she ended it with, "I just signed your death warrant." Like just going scorched earth on this guy, completely warranted. People are saying like, did it cross the line for like what a judge should say to someone she's prosecuting or laying the verdict on? It's like, yeah, maybe, but who gives a fuck? Like, this guy is a fucking scumbag. He's going to prison for the rest of his life, and he's going to die in prison,
Yes.
which is the right move here, obviously. It's just a fucking terrible. Some people, like, this is just like, he's a monster. He's a fucking monster, and he deserves to be behind bars for the rest of his life.
Yes. And, you know, it's already, the thing is, like, yes, he was the USA Gymnastics team doctor. He was like a physician at Michigan State University. Those things don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
He's a child molester now.
Yes.
And he's a convicted felon.
Yep.
Which is how it should be, though.
You're
That should be
absolutely right.
what he's known for. That should be his legacy.
Yeah.
And I wish we lived in the Black Mirror universe where we could throw him in the White Bear amusement park.
It might not be. Yeah. I'd go there.
I would go there.
Yeah.
I'd pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, screw him. Obviously, an awful person. And Judge Rosemarie, I salute you for going scorched earth.
Yeah.
I think it was very necessary.
Absolutely. And obviously we hope and pray that the victims can rest a little bit easier knowing that he cannot hurt anybody else anymore. Like,
right.
Rest even a tiny percent better knowing that he's behind bars for the rest of his life.
Agreed.
It's awful. On to more uplifting news. The XFL is back.
Unreal.
Vince McMahon drops an atomic bomb, even though we kind of saw it coming, right? A few months ago, they filed for trademarks and all this shit, and whoever does all this investigation came out saying that it's a possibility the XFL could come back. And what a great time for the XFL to come back, because it compete with the NFL, which is hurting for ratings and all this nonsense. More importantly, Vince McMahon went on and got in front of a podium and said, the XFL is in fact back.
Yeah. Did you watch the live stream of the...
I didn't watch it. I listened to some of it. They covered it on Barstool Radio today, so I listened to some of those clips.
Yeah. It was, I mean, it's so... There's not a lot to go on. Basically, the XFL is back. Yeah. Vince, it's separate from WWE. He launched his own LLC called Alpha Entertainment. Mm-hmm. He cashed out like almost $100 million of WWE stock, founded this company, wants to go back into professional football. Vince McMahon loves righting wrongs in his life. Yes. And the biggest wrong publicly is the XFL. It failed. It was a huge failure. He lost a ton of money. So he is back. It's not bad timing. I personally think he's overestimating the audience for this. It all depends on a TV deal too, which I think he'll get, but I don't know. I hope it works. It's just people are already rooting and ready for it to fail, but time will tell. What we do know, the kickoff, the first inaugural season is supposed to start around this time in 2020, so 2 years from now.
Yeah.
He did say that they're not going to focus on politics. They're not going to focus on social issues. He didn't straight out say it, but there's not going to be any kneeling. No. He basically inferred that he's going to write it into the players' contracts that you have to stand for the national anthem, which is fine, because you know what? If you play and you know that going in, like, then you got to, rules are rules, I guess.
Right.
Which is funny because I think everybody knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Like, Vince McMahon strikes me as someone who would get very upset that people are kneeling during the national.
And I do think it is that. I think that he'll get upset that people are actually kneeling, the act of kneeling. But also, I think that he doesn't want that to take away from the product like it's been doing in the NFL.
Right.
Which
is smart.
Yeah.
Because it has been. I mean, it's hurting the ratings. I talk to people every day that won't watch it because of that. So he wants this to be a fun. It was definitely a different tone from the other XFL, which makes sense because the first XFL was launched in 2001. The world was a much different place 17 years ago.
Yep.
And people thought Vince McMahon was going to come back with tits and ass and all this crazy. It's like, no, he's smarter than that.
Yeah.
He knows that people maybe want like a safer, more wholesome, different type of football that you can watch with your kids, and your kids aren't saying, why is so-and-so kneeling during the anthem? Or why are they doing, you know what I mean? It's just for pure fun and entertainment.
Yes. Yep. And I think when he said it, when he said it was going to be like a more family-friendly league, it was like I was caught off guard because the XFL, the Extreme Football League, is not what that was founded like in 2001. But you're right, it's a totally different time. He did say that the reason why they kept the name XFL is because the branding was so strong with it. And Vince he's a smart guy. He gets that even though it's bad publicity for the XFL back in the day because it was a failure, he knows that it's only the strong recognition of the brand is only gonna help him, whether or not it was a failure before or not.
And I think he understands the power of nostalgia too.
Yes.
I mean, Monday's Raw starts off with Stone Cold Stunning Vince, had the highest audience in 4 years.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? So
he gets
I think he's banking on that, but it's not going to be successful unless you have a high quality of play, a high quality of players. Yeah. I found it a little odd. He specifically mentioned if players have a DUI, they won't be able to play.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel.
He wants to play, and he has a DUI, so that'll be interesting.
You know what I mean? It's weird that he picked just that specific.
Yeah, it's weird that I understand like how you want to he's gonna run his organization like how he runs the WWE. I mean, the WWE has come a long way from what it used to be as far as the people in it being clean, wholesome guys, guys and girls. So. I understand wanting to do that. I think that's a big thing for parents and, letting their kids watch certain things. It's because the NFL, a lot of times the guys in the NFL are not great guys.
No,
they're not I'm going to say for the majority of guys, they're not great guys. All you hear is bad shit. In big numbers, the news stories about guys, being, hitting, beating their girlfriends, wives, DUIs, murder. It's out there and not great. So Vince gets that. And so if he wants to position himself opposite the NFL, his direct competitor, he's going to do that. And that's the way to do it. You make yourself you insinuate the NFL is filled with all bad people by saying we are going to be wholesome and family friendly. So automatically you set that contrast. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
He does.
Yeah.
A couple of the changes he mentioned, like I said, still 2 years out. They don't really have a groundwork laid.
Yeah.
But he mentioned how watching a 3-hour game can be very laborious and boring, which is true, which I also kind of found funny because Monday Night Raw is 3 hours every week.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
I mean, I love wrestling more than anybody, but sometimes it's all right, cut it, cut it to 2 hours, please. But so he was mentioning possibly less timeouts. I can't imagine they would do an instant replay system. They definitely wouldn't. He also mentioned no halftime, which, I mean, I guess, as long as the players can do it.
Yeah.
But that would cut out a half hour, of the game. Another interesting thing he said is they weren't going to do the franchise model. So there would just be one owner of the league.
Okay. That's interesting.
So you'd have teams in different cities, but you wouldn't have separate owners, which is interesting. I mean, it's interesting on paper. I don't know if they could make it happen. But that was just a couple of the changes they made. And it was funny because he had it was a 3 to 5 minute press conference to start. And then they took questions. And he clearly said in his 3 to 5 minute opener, we don't know where we're going to go. We don't know what cities. We don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And every reporter who was from a city was like, what do you think about San Diego? He's like, I can't keep saying this.
Yeah.
We don't know what city we're going to be in.
Yeah.
I literally just thought of this the other day.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking about a few areas that they could go to. Number one, San Diego, because they just lost a football team. And what better way for Vince to get fans right off the bat than to go to San Diego, a city that just lost its team. Another one, Oakland. Oakland is losing their football team. And the people in Oakland are very dedicated to their football teams. Maybe they jump ship or they watch both. They can be fans of the home team and still follow their Raiders. You can do another one in Chicago. You can do another one in New York because the markets are so big. So you can do one in St. Louis. Exactly. Florida is a big market for football. They've already got 3 NFL teams, but why not throw an XFL team in there?
And you can still always do a New York, or did you already say that? New York or Chicago?
Yeah, New York or Chicago, you can always throw those in because
you can't oversaturate areas. It's impossible.
Yeah. I like that he didn't make any promises that I don't think he can keep yet. They're still figuring it out, and that's very apparent. But it's an interesting thing, and also with you have written down here, watching it on multiple platforms. by the time 2 years comes, the landscape of cable and the internet and how you watch TV is going to be changing even more than it already has. And Vince knows that. So he's going to wait and see like where the next big movement is. And when that comes, the XFL will be primed to be, like to jump in and steal market share, because that's what he's fucking great at. Talking about, going back quick to what you're talking about the no owners, I think that's super smart and changes it, because a lot of people just see owners in the NFL as people who are collecting the money from the stadiums. A lot of times they don't really have any say in like what goes on anyway. So if these teams just have coaches and maybe a general manager and then the owner of the league, I think that's fine. I think I think that's fine. I think it's a lot of times you got like guys like Jerry Jones. People don't like Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, and basically he's like owner, manager, coach. He's so involved in the team. And if you could just have the coaches involved and have Vince be like it would give a different feel than the NFL, you know what I mean? Rather than these big corporate suites and these guys just raking in money for people from people. And I also see that with taking that kind of effect, I think that Vince doing like cheap concessions and like things like that, or cheaper, because I think he was talking about like family friendly, and it's like going to a football game with your kids will make you broke.
Right.
And I think I think he knows that. I mean, I think wrestling events are no better. I think WWE events are no better. I think it's also very expensive. But, I think he could like kind of like, again, the contrast in the NFL. I think he'll like find that, make it very different, but also the same.
And because, as big as and successful as the NFL is, it's far from perfect. And there's, if you have the right people behind it to contrast it and do something different, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just glad it exists. Competition's always great for everything. So I'm glad he's doing it. Are there any specific players? I know we mentioned Johnny Manziel, but any guys you'd want to see? I would personally be fascinated by Tim Tebow being in there.
I would. That's the number one guy on my list. The perfect spot for Tim Tebow to shine. Love to see Tim Tebow there. I would love to see guys that like guys like AJ McCarron. Like he's a backup in Cincinnati. With Andy Dalton there, he's not going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
And it's too bad. And by the time Andy Dalton retires or whatever, like it's like, I don't know who knows. Like, but these guys want to play. A lot of times these guys want to play, and I think the XFL might steal a lot of talent from the NFL. It might not be top quality talent, but it's talent nonetheless, and names people know. It's like, and how many more guys now are going to have an opportunity out of college to make a living playing football? There's a lot more now, a lot more opportunity. I like that.
It'll be interesting too, because back in 2001 you didn't have it, but guys who still like kind of want to play, like Ocho Cinco and Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, they're still in shape. They still want to play. Like, why wouldn't they give it a shot?
Yep. And I'm sure the XFL will be more than happy to give a contract to a guy with a name like that. Value. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yep.
So they'll find people. But overall, I'm excited. Vince never ceases to amaze. And it's still 2 years away, but I'm sure bits and pieces will be leaking out over those 2 years. And it should be a great time. Hey, 2018, the XFL is back.
Yeah. I really hope that Rhode Island gets a team.
I don't know what I'd do.
I'd
have season tickets in less than a heartbeat.
Do you know how thirsty, like, Rhode Islanders are for a professional sports team? We always have to piggyback on whatever Boston is doing. And honestly, I hate that. Like when we used to go to the Providence Bruins hockey games, we used to take so much pride out of going and watch them, because we didn't care what the Boston Bruins were doing. We cared week to week what the Providence Bruins were doing. And it was a great thing, and it's so much fun. And like, if they could find a place to play in Rhode Island, that would be so great. I hope Vince, and he's a smart guy. I'm not gonna tell Vince what to think, because I'm sure he's already thinking it. If it's the right move, like Rhode Island would be perfect. He has to know that like the big brother up there, the Patriots in Gillette Stadium, like we want something in Rhode Island. We want to root for something in Rhode Island. We would be so gung ho for that. And like you said, season tickets in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I hope so. I mean, I hope they're going to definitely get some main markets, but I hope they explore the smaller markets as well.
Yeah.
And looking forward to all the details that come out about it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think that's gonna be it for the Average Nobody podcast today. We didn't go too far. We went an hour 10. It's not too bad.
Not too bad.
A lot of good things we covered today, but that's gonna do it. Just a quick some house cleaning stuff. We're doing a giveaway on Make Movies Great Again. So if you want to go over to the Make Movies Great Again Twitter, which is at Make Movies Great, we're giving away a set of 4 Star Wars The Last Jedi posters. They're exclusive posters that you could only get at AMC theaters. We got them from eBay. Because there's no really AMC theaters around here. But we have the whole set. There's 4 of them. They're very exclusive. They're very cool. Go check it out, and it's very easy to enter. You only have to follow us and retweet it, and there's a few other ways you can enter as well. You'll find it pinned to the top of our Twitter. Other than that, we'll be back next week, around the same time, same day. And I think that's it. Hopefully next week I'll have watched some of The Punisher so we can chat about it.
Perfect. Sounds great, Matt. Always a pleasure.
Yes, of course. And everybody, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week, everybody.